Search and Surveillance Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. Call on Government Order of the Day number 5.
Game Council Bill, first reading.
The Honourable Peter Dunn.
Mr Speaker, I move that the Game Animal Council Bill be read the first time, and so I propose to refer the bill to the Local Government and Environment Committee. Mr Speaker, this bill delivers on the Government's 2008 Confidence and Supply Agreement with United Future to proceed with the establishment of a Big Game Hunting Council as part of a national wild game management strategy with a view to it becoming a statutory authority. And that provision had in turn grown out of United Future's 2005 agreement with the previous Labour-led government, which led to the establishment of the Game Animal Panel. After receiving over 4,000 submissions and hearing from a wide range of groups, individuals and organisations, the panel, chaired ably by the Honourable Margaret Austin, proposed amongst its recommendations the establishment of a statutory organisation to coordinate and foster management of recreational, guided and commercial hunting. So in many senses, this bill arises directly from the work of the Game Animal Panel, and I want to acknowledge this afternoon the work of Margaret Austin and her team. Now, during the last Parliament, the panel's work was taken a step further through the work of the Game Animal Council Establishment Committee, chaired by Gary Ottman, whose contribution I would also like to acknowledge this afternoon. The Establishment Committee conducted a further round of public consultations, and the upshot was this bill, introduced shortly before Parliament was dissolved for last year's election. So this bill is a culmination of a deliberate, thorough and considered process under both governments over the last 6 years, involving all the key stakeholders, and it is therefore with a real sense of pride that I bring it before the House today. The bill establishes a Game Animal Council, including specifying its make-up and functions. The purpose of the Game Animal Council is to improve the management of game animals, namely deer, tahr, chamois and wild pigs, including the improvement of opportunities to hunt those animals, while also providing advice to the Minister of Conservation on issues affecting the hunting sector. Secondary objectives for the Council include providing information and education to the hunting sector, reducing conflict within the sector, the promotion of safety initiatives including firearms safety, education and training, raising awareness and advocating for the views of the hunting sector, and conducting research into game animals and their management. The bill creates powers for the Minister of Conservation to manage what will be known as herds of special interests to hunters for recreational hunting outcomes, and allows for those powers to be delegated to the Council. A herd of special interest to hunters would be a game animal herd of a particular species or subspecies in specific locations that was considered to have high value to hunters, either because of the hunting experience and the accessibility of the animals, or the quality and the significance of the trophy. The bill provides the Minister with the ability to designate a herd to receive such a status based on the recommendations of the Council, along with input from DOC and other stakeholders. Upon a herd being designated as a herd of special interest, the Minister would in turn delegate to the Council specific management functions to be carried out under a herd management plan. The Director-General of Conservation, on recommendation from the Council, will have the ability to appoint warranted enforcement officers, similar but more limited in function to fish and game rangers. The enforcement officer's role will be to ensure compliance with the conditions of herd management plans and to prevent other illegal actions, including the liberation, conveying and the capturing of game animals. Mr Speaker, a localised example of the herd of special interest model already exists through the work of the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation. In the past 6 years alone, the Foundation has removed nearly 5,500 predominantly red deer from Fiordland, and that has been paid for and managed by recreational hunters and constitutes a classic win-win situation. Conservation values are being enhanced by the reduced number of deer, while hunters enjoy a wapiti herd with far greater genetic integrity and trophy value than it had before. Members of the Foundation have further contributed to conservation by laying up to 70 kilometres of pest control lines and funding the reopening of the Blue Duck Hatchery in Te Anau. And last December, Mr Speaker, the Foundation finally achieved formal recommendation of their efforts with the signing of a management agreement with the Department of Conservation. Now, the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation did all this from scratch and in the face of much scepticism. That's a great achievement on their part, and I congratulate them heartily for it. What the Game Animal Council will do is provide hunters with the legislative and organisational framework to be able to achieve similar outcomes in other parts of the country. Funding for the Council will come primarily through a levy on the export of game trophies, supplemented by a small Crown contribution of $50,000 per annum. Provisions also exist in the legislation for other forms of self-funding to be explored in the future. It should be noted that the establishment of the Council will not in any way alter the current way in which will not in any way alter current levels of free access for hunting opportunities provided to recreational hunters. The Council will have a minimum of 9 and no more than 11 appointed members, and those who are appointed to the Council will have knowledge and experience reflective of the diversity within the hunting sector and the game animal industries. And the members will be selected after a public nomination process. Both public and organisations with an interest will be able to submit nominations to the Minister. Mr Speaker, I must emphasise, though, that this bill does not dilute existing powers to manage wild animals for the purpose of protecting conservation values. Herds of special interest to hunters must be managed consistent with statutory management strategies, plans and policies relating to conservation. But by allowing outdoor recreationists a greater stake in the management of their recreational resource, I believe, like the work of the Fiordland Wapiti Foundation, the Game Animal Council will achieve huge gains for both recreation and conservation. New Zealand's backcountry is a special place. However, it would not be half as special if people were not inspired to go and use it. And for many New Zealanders, their connection with our outdoor heritage is a major part of what it means to be a Kiwi. But the New Zealand backcountry is not, as some may wish it to be, an exhibition in a museum, nice to look at, but never to be touched, just another picture on the wall. It is a place steeped in history, rewarding of adventure and offering a lifetime of enjoyment. And so in some small way, I hope that this legislation and the organisation that it will create will uphold and enhance those values for the enjoyment of generations to come. And it's therefore with a huge degree of pleasure and pride that I commend this bill to the House this afternoon.
The question is that the motion be agreed to.
Mr. Speaker.
Grant Robertson.
Thank you very much.